I don't like to just talk about the good times. I also like to talk about the bad times. I like to talk about when I've made losses, made terrible plays. Sure, I can boast about buying boxes at cheap prices and then it goes up and then everybody's laughing, but you're only going to grow by knowing and learning off of other people's mistakes, or maybe even yours. But hey, you clicked on this video, you clearly want to learn off my mistakes. So please do watch this video, learn off my mistakes. Please not do the exact same thing I just did and then in a few years regret it. Like, this is a good chance for you to look at this and go, all right, let's avoid this under all costs. I just want to say before we start, you may notice the background is absolutely atrocious. I apologize for that. I'm actually in the process of getting some new shelves so I can display a bunch of other stuff. It'd be pretty cool. You guys have been giving some suggestions on how I can improve my content. My channel recently got monetized, which is pretty sweet. I'm just going to get all that ad revenue money I get, and I'm just going to reinvest into buying mics, upgrading the quality. Maybe eventually I'll get neon lights as well, so it looks pretty sweet, the area. But yeah, I'm going to just pretty much reinvest all that money so I can make the quality of these videos as good as possible. But yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. But for everybody else, I just want to let you guys know, well, actually just for everybody watching this, whether you're subscribed or not, I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon. So yeah, I'll announce that in a couple of days. But today, we've got a pretty heavy topic. So if you play your cards right, you can do quite well financially. I cannot comment on your physical shape. I cannot comment on your relationships. I cannot comment on your mental health. What I can comment and help you with is your financial status, because that is the one thing I'm the most locked in right now. I'm trying to elevate my financial status so that I can have, I suppose, more of an ease in life, but I also don't have to worry. A lot of people jump into things when they shouldn't, when they're very expensive, and then they later regret it because they were not prepared. So I'm trying to build a good foundation. So this is a pretty serious video. Basically, I made some pretty big mistakes with Pokemon. I've also made some absolutely phenomenal plays. It goes both ways. But something I learned, and the number one thing I learned, which I'm going to talk about the number one lesson that I ever learned in the end of this video. So just make sure to watch till the end. You can't just skip till the end. Technically you can, but there's a very long point I'm going to have to make. And I can't just make it in 5 seconds. So that's why the video is as long as it is. I'm going to try and be as quick as possible, and I'm going to try and repeat myself as little as possible. I'm going to try and just get to the point. So to start off, I was a pretty big believer in Sword and Shield. For anyone who is new to Pokemon, basically when Sword and Shield was in the position that Scarlet and Violet is in right now, so Sword and Shield was all up, we were looking at the next era, and well, when this happened, Sword and Shield was all cheap. Fusion Strike was $160 a box, Lost Origin was $190, Evolving Skies was $500. This was when the market was quite quiet, right? It was quite chill. And there were a lot of people who didn't believe in Sword and Shield. A lot of people, Sword and Shield did not get treated to the way it does now. Sword and Shield is now a gold standard. Sword and Shield is now an obvious play, right? Should I go all in and super risky and buy Paldean Fates bundles, or should I play it safe and buy Sword and Shield? Well, for anyone who's new to the hobby, how it used to work was Sword and Shield used to be the risky play and Sun and Moon was the safe play. This was when, Cosmic Eclipse was $1,000 a booster box, Team Up was $3,000. I'm talking all AUD for the record. So if it's USD, just cut it by a third. So if a box was $300 for me, it was $200 for you. So just so you can kind of convert it in your mind. So when Team Up was 3,000 AUD, in USD it was $2,000. But now, a Team Up box recently sold for $15,000. So that gold standard that we see for Sword and Shield now is pretty much what Sun and Moon used to be. So basically, I was a big believer in Sword and Shield. I was actually, I'm going to be quite transparent. I was actually pretty new to the hobby then. I never really got into Pokemon when I was a kid, and I was pretty new to the hobby, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed cracking packs, hunting for stuff, and back then, now you're hunting prismatic. Well, back then you were hunting Evolving Skies in tins, or you were hunting, I don't know, maybe some older Sword and Shield, Chilling Rain or Battle Styles. I mean, no one was hunting Battle Styles, but I suppose as being new to the hobby, it was fun to look for older stuff, or Cosmic Eclipse in some tins. It was fun, right? That was the hunt, and that was the thrill. And as I enjoyed the hobby more, I remember watching this YouTuber called Pokey Oz, and I really like this guy's content. He's a great guy. Honestly, my inspiration whenever it comes to making content and also just investing in Pokemon. He's a very big inspiration. And it's funny because I saw people on Reddit, and I would see people in social media where all of these loud people were speaking, all of the loud mouths, all these people screaming, Sword and Shield is crap, Sword and Shield is overprinted, it's never going to go up. But then I saw people like this guy, and I saw people with, I'm not trying to be rude, but people with money, like Rudy, Alpha Investments, for anyone who doesn't know, he's got like $50 million in Pokemon, or however much he's got. He's got a lot, something like that. He's got $50 million in investments, it's something like that. Basically, these people are all saying Sword and Shield is great and it's going to do really well. So like on one side, I'm seeing social media say it's all going to die. Oh, it's overprinted, and then I saw these YouTubers say, well, no, it's actually going to do really well. So I looked at that and I thought, all right, well, if you're not going to ask a fat person for health advice, you're not going to ask a depressed person for mental health, you're not going to ask a divorced person for relationship advice. So why would I listen to people who are not really, don't really have much of a holdings in it, right? Or they don't have much money to play around with. I would rather listen to somebody who's been on YouTube for 10 years on YouTube, as Rui likes to always say. He has a lot in Pokemon and he's done very well for himself. And then you've also got people like PokeOdds, maybe a little bit newer to the investing, but he's still been there since like Sun and Moon and Black and White, and he's been consistently in the hobby. It's like maybe he's only ramped it up in Sun and Moon or early Sword and Shield, but still he's been in there for a good while. So I look at people who have been here for a while and I go, oh, okay, hang on. These people are saying stuff that's completely different to social media. And that's where it kind of clicked, where I realized, all right, I'm not going to listen to people on social media. I'm not going to at all. I'm not going to. You talk about Fusion Strike and people said how it was dead. People said Fusion Strike would never go up. It was overprinted. And I didn't believe I didn't believe them. I bought up Sword and Shield like no tomorrow. I worked my job, I got paid, and then I bought Sword and Shield, and then I worked more, and then I got paid more, and yeah, I just kept building my investments, and I actually built a bit of a collector profile of what my investments would have looked like if I held that, and that's not adding anything in the last year. That is literally about 14 months ago, I bought up a ton of Pokemon. It was actually a good while. I held it for a very long time. I actually held it for half a year. Actually, I think it was like a year. It was actually a good amount of time that I held it for. And then I just sold it. I bought all of these and I saw Fusion Strike. I saw Fusion Strike was a really nice looking box. And I was like, man, this is so good. This is such a good box. This is so good. The hits in here are awesome. Looked at Evolving Skies. I was like, man, Evolving Skies is awesome. This was when the Mirabion was $1,200 as a PSA 10. Or $800 raw, or $700 raw. And I looked at all these and I went, all right, well, these clearly a lot of people like it. And I didn't have the time in the market to really understand what a good set and what a bad set is, but I could see that there was an expensive card in Lost Origin. I could see there was an expensive card in Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, and I could see there was no expensive card in Rebel Clash or Darkness Ablaze. So I bought up the good sets. I bought up the sets people talked about, the sets people liked. And it worked well. Only problem was I sold it, and the reason why I sold it all, we're talking, I bought Charizard UPCs for $100, $70 USD or 66, that's what I bought UPCs at. It was ridiculous. And I actually just realized I forgot to add, oh man, I don't even want to talk about it, but I had 50 151 Elite Trainer boxes I bought for $60 USD. Oh no, what? No, not even. $50 USD, about 75 AUD. And I was very confident in 151, and I was very confident in these. And if I held those today, it would probably be worth about everything I have. So on my collector profile, it says 110k AUD, but that I keep remembering stuff that I bought because I just had to go off the dome of what I bought. But I'm remembering more stuff that I bought. Yeah, all that 151 on top of that, and then some One Piece stuff as well. It would probably be more at the 140 range, 140k. And you got to remember, that's 140k. I'm not even 20 years old. And not only that, that doesn't cover what I currently have now. Don't really like to cover exactly what I have now, just for personal reasons. I just don't really think I need to add it all up. I don't really want to do that. I don't like the idea of putting a number publicly. I think it's a bit weird. I don't know. I don't like the idea of it. I don't feel safe, just showing all this stuff on the internet. But I can talk about these numbers because they are literally magical. These numbers literally mean nothing because I own that Pokemon. But it would be worth about 140k. And that is excluding what I have now. That's a lot of money. And that's literally not even for someone who's not even 20 years old. And it's funny because people really complain about the housing crisis and people really complain about, bills and how everything's getting so expensive. And I was watching a video the other day, and this guy was asking people who were like 30 years old how much money they had saved up, or 35, or 40, and they would say, oh, I have 10K saved up, or I have 20K. Or they would ask, what do you have in your investments in your portfolio and also saved up? And they would say maybe 20K, maybe 30K, and maybe have the one guy in a suit who has like $500,000. And maybe have the wise couple that, saved every dime and they have their house paid off and they have like $1 million in investments. Okay, that's great. But most people were like virtually nothing. And I was light years ahead of these people while being like half their age. Not only that, another thing to add is that it's funny, I would see people my age say they have 10K in investments, or 15K, or maybe they've saved up that much, and people 40, 50, 60 would be applauded. They would applaud them. They'd say, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's phenomenal. You've done so well. You're 18 years old and you have 15K saved up. Oh my gosh, you're doing so well for yourself. And it's like, yeah, man, I would have had like 2 house deposits. I would have, 140K, and that's not even excluding now. Dude, if we add up now as well, and if we take away all, and for the record, I just want to say, this is not saying like, this is what annoys me when people say, oh, if I bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, then I'd be a millionaire. But you didn't buy it, so it means nothing. The difference is I did buy these. I had these. I owned these. And that's what makes it painful. It's not because I looked at it on a screen and I was like, should I buy it? Nah. It was because I actually did. And all I needed to do was hold it. That was the one job. Just hold it. So then I sold it all, thinking I was a genius because I was investing that money into buying out collections, grading Pokemon, selling accessories, and trying all these different Pokemon side gigs. And I think the one time I doubted if that was a good decision was when I bought these Crown Zenith premium boxes for $39 and I'd sell them for about $70. And I bought a total of probably about 50 to 80. I just put 40 on the collector app just to be safe. For anyone who doesn't know, $40 AUD is probably about $26 USD. Now this box had 11 Crown Zenith packs inside. I think that box goes for about $240 now, so at least on the collector app, it goes for about $240. Dude, that means I would turn $1,200 into like 10K for holding for 1 year. That's sad. And you know what's funny about this? The funny part is that it's not because, we're in a bull run. Like, obviously we're in a massive craze where Pokemon's going crazy, but this is just like normal for Pokemon. This is normal. You go back anytime. I mean, dude, Sun and Moon. When Pokemon was supposedly, in theory, dead, Evolving Skies was doubling in price or tripling in price, and then Team Up went from like, $500 a booster box to like $3K when Pokemon was supposedly dead. For anyone who's new to the hobby, Pokemon has never really, in the last, at least when I can say, let's just say from when Astral Radiance came out to now, Pokemon has never been dead. That dead is bullshit. That's not true. The dead is the market outperforming the S&P by multiple folds. That's Pokemon being dead. It's just people are so depraved of their dopamine receptors. They're so depraved of, if it doesn't make a 10,000% overnight, then it's dead. No, it was not dead. It was outperforming every single financial investment you can think of. It's not dead. That was bullcrap. That was a complete lie. It was never dead. So for people who say it was dead, full of shit. Now, the thing is, I find this very interesting because when I bought those Crown Zenith boxes, I thought to myself, am I really making the right decision by actually selling these now? Like, I thought to myself, I said this to my friend. I said, one day this box will be a $300 box. I said, are we actually making the right decision? We will like 7x our money or whatever. Oh, it's a 7 or 8x our money. I said, mate, we are getting such a good price on this. Should we even sell these? And he said, I don't know. He didn't really think about it. I didn't really think about it because we were idiots. And dude, now lo and behold, and for the record, can I just say something? I bought them for $39 and sold them for about like 60 to $70. Dude, I could have just bought them off of I could have bought what I could have and then bought, if I wanted more and a larger position, I could have just bought them at a market price, which was like $60 per box off of other people. And then I could just stock up, and then I would be up like 5x. There was a tipping point when I would buy collections and I would, I don't know, say I'd hold on to a box I'd buy a box, Paladin Fates Elite Trainer box. I'd buy 10 Paladin Fates Elite Trainer boxes, and then I'd buy them for like $50 AUD, and then I'd list them on eBay for $80, try to make $10 or $15 profit each. And let's just say it wouldn't move for 2 months until eventually the market doubled in price for the ETB. Like it just swung in like a 100% or 50% direction, and then boom, it doubled in price. Now, let's just say I bought it for $50 and then I listed on eBay for $80. Then it would move from, I don't know, say $80 to $140. And that was the new high. But the problem was, I would never get the price of $140 because mine would sell out instantly. And this happened a lot where I would buy, I don't know, a box, make 10% margin on it, but then in the same month, it goes up by 50%. And it's like, dude, if I just held it and literally did nothing, I would actually have been rewarded by doing nothing. And that's happened in the past. I literally would be lazy and not list something. I'd be like, I can't be bothered listing it. I'd come back in a month, there's double in price. I'd look at that and I go, so hang on, I'm actually being punished for putting in the effort to sell this. If I literally just held on to it, I would have made more money. And it's a tough topic, right? It really is. It's a very hard topic. And it hurts to talk about this, but I feel like it needs to be talked about, because I can either shy away and pretend like this didn't exist, or I can talk about it, and not only I can be more vocal about it, but I can also try to prevent you guys from making the same mistake. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine. I've known him for a couple of years now. He's an amazing person. He actually bought up a lot of my Pokemon. He got the last laugh, really. A couple of years ago, he bought up a lot of my sealed boxes. He's up a lot on those. But basically, I was talking to him, and he flies around the world a lot. He's gone on trips. He's retired. He's got more money than he really needs. So he said to me, he said, "Hey, we've gone traveling for a couple of years now. We want to just come back to Australia, settle down, and really, I guess, enjoy Australia, and also just enjoy having a house." And he said he wants to start up a Pokemon business. So he was seeking my advice from it. And I said to him, I said, dude, honestly, if I were you, I said, mate, you have so much money in Pokemon. I'm not going to say the exact number, but we'll just say he could probably buy, let's just say a house that like a normal family would live in, like 2 kids, his wife and husband. He could probably buy that house out immediately with his Pokemon investments. I said to him, it's not worth you selling Pokemon. I said to him, I have learned the hard way that once you get to a certain level, it is not worth you selling Pokemon. It is not worth you buying out collections to make 10% margin. I said to him, mate, you have a finite amount of time every single day. You can only buy out so many collections, and let's just say you can only cap out a $500 profit per day. If you can only cap out a $500 profit per day, that means he's only making about, I can't even bother putting in the numbers. But I said to him, mate, your collection on average doubles every year. Or let's just say it goes up by 50% every year. Even if it goes up by 30% every year. I said, mate, you are making more money just by holding that than buying out collections. And then I said to him, if you buy a Pokemon card for $1, sell it for $5, but then that ends up going to $50, like, dude, yeah, you made money, but like, you know what the thing is? It's more of the fact that happens every time. It's more of the fact that we know Surging Sparks will be a $1,000 booster box. Like, we know Paladin Fates booster bundles will eventually be $500 a booster bundle. It could be 2 years. It could be 4 years. I just want to remind you, Crown Zenith is only 2 years old. Crown Zenith is 2 years old. Came out in January of 2023. Oh, okay, I guess 2.5 years old. We'll just say 2 years, just for the sake of it. It's a $400 late trainer box. This market moves so much faster than any of us can comprehend. So I said to him, mate, you're just wasting your time. I said, you do it for fun, do it to pass time. You're just wasting your time if you're trying to make money off of it. And you know what he said to me? He said, you know what? That's exactly what my friend who has a card shop said. His mate who owns a card shop is on hand. He sees it. He would know it better than anybody else. And he said the identical thing I said. To just let his investments just go up. It's not worth his time. Like, you got to think people like Warren Buffett, right? I know it's a very extreme example, but it could be a good example to get the point across, is that he makes, I don't know, $50 billion a year from his investments. I really don't know. But if he works even every single day, all day, dude, maximum he makes from a job is what, 300K? Maybe he starts off his own business and then he, takes a couple years for it to set off. But dude, he's already making so much money from his investments. So it's like, dude, at that point, you might as well just let your investments sustain your life, right? If you want to do something as a side hustle for fun, go for it. No one's stopping you if you want to do it for fun. But if we're talking like actually financial gain, there's no point. And this is where I fell short every single time. I bought Evolving Skies for $500 a booster box, and I would sell for $600. Then I would buy Evolving Skies for $600, and then when it appreciated to $800, I'd sell it. And then when I would buy it for $800, then it would go to $1,200, I'd sell it. But then one day, it just clicked, and I went, what the heck is actually wrong with me? Why am I doing this? I could have just bought it and held it. I am damaging my portfolio and I am damaging my time and my well-being by selling it. Pokemon is an industry that moves so quickly, and because people are so passionate in this industry, and because people are so, because they enjoy it so much, people will sell $10,000 worth of sealed boxes to buy that $10,000 card they want. No one really sells, their $10,000 booster box or their $10,000 card and then just, I don't know, puts it on red, or they buy a new car. A lot of the time, people who sell something expensive in this hobby just put it right back into the hobby, which fuels it up. It fuels up the economy for this industry. So I never really learned that. And it does suck, but I've learned a lot from it. So, yeah. It's a pretty hard video to talk about. It's not an easy video to talk about, but yeah, I don't really like talking about it that often because I don't like to think about it.